she's done some very
Well,
good.
Jeff,
Yeah.
seeing you at the Circle of Friends, wonderful Angela, Baba Sahavas for the new life, just, was just lit my fire some more. And you guys did a great concert. Everything was beautiful, just Sahavas feeling all over the place. So thank you, Angela. It was really sweet. And I missed it. The day after the last day, I'm like, I want to get up and go to Artie. So it was very sweet to get together in person. Anywho, you night owls, I do have a Hafez for you all. Oh, Baba. Let's see. Minimize this little window here. Okay. So this one is Ghazal 135, and Hafiz goes like this. My poor luck is not giving me a hint as to the whereabouts of my beloved's mouth. And my fortune reading is not revealing the hidden secret within me. For a kiss from his lips, I will give up my life promptly. For a kiss from his lips, I will give up my life promptly. He neither takes this nor gives me that. I died from waiting, and there is no entry through this curtain. Or there is, and the curtain keeper is not showing it to me. The harvest is eventually obtained through patience. However, the promise-breaking age is not giving me the opportunity. Zephyr has the good fortune to caress the beloved's hair. Zephyr has the good fortune to caress the beloved's hair. The despicable wheel of Maya is not even me letting, it is late, Jeff. The despicable wheel of Maya is not even letting me there be like the wind. I said to myself, I will go to sleep so I may see my beloved's face in dreams. But Hafez's moans and groans are not giving me a chance. Jai Meher Baba.
Beautiful.
Wow. Looks like sleep is near.
Thursday. Nice, nice. Really
Thank you, Thursday.
Thank you for
Read the last little bit of it again.
Okay. The last stanza here, or the last couple?
About 4 stanzas before.
Oh boy, okay. Let's open it up again. I died from waiting, and there is no entry through this curtain. Or there is, and the curtain keeper is not showing it to me. The harvest is eventually obtained through patience. However, the promise-breaking age is not giving me the opportunity. Zephyr has the good fortune to caress the beloved's hair. The despicable wheel of Maya is not even letting me there be like the wind. I said to myself, I will go to sleep so I may see my beloved's face in dreams. But Hafez's moans and groans are not giving me a chance.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah. So, Jacima, would you mind putting that, the quote that we're working on? Let's see. Goer, would you like to read that?
Sure. Sure. Jai Baba. Okay. An excerpt from the discourse on readiness to serve. The aspirant always has to be in readiness to serve the cause of humanity. He need not apply himself to any type of work, irrespective of his capacity. He has to select that portion of work which he is qualified to do by virtue of his individual aptitude and abilities. But whatever service he can render by virtue of his capacity, he renders even when the circumstances are most trying. The ordeals through which he may have to pass are many, but the determination to serve whenever possible must remain unshaken. If he were to seek opportunities for himself to render service, it would be a form of selfishness. In service, which really counts in the spiritual life, there can be no thought of the self at all. The self in all its forms has to be left entirely out of the picture. Service should spring out of the spontaneity of freedom if and when it is necessary, and it has to come in a cooperative spirit in which there is no insistence on the claims of the limited I. Some possible questions to ask ourselves. Do you want me to read the questions too, Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Which ones can you most relate to? How could seeking opportunities to serve others be a form of selfishness? What does it mean to be in readiness to serve others? How can we distinguish between being ready to serve and wanting to fix things, that is, intruding or interfering? How do we keep from feeling or thinking, I know best? What is the difference between doing good and acting out of the spontaneity of love? How do we determine when service is needed? What faculty discerns the need indicated in a situation? Is Baba nudging us? Let the head respond to the heart and then act accordingly. How do you see this at play in your life? If we take pride in our service, is it really service? How do you feel about those who are rarely helpful in situations where you need help? Does the ideal of service seem impossible because it is too far out of reach? Or do we evolve gradually through trial and error toward a life of service? Or is it a gift from Baba himself? If spontaneity is key to keeping one's service free and unbinding, how can we manage to be spontaneous? Does being conscious of doing service take away from its meaningfulness? Baba has said, I give you opportunities to serve so you can draw closer to me. Jai Baba.
So just a second here. There are two lines. There are two lines in here that I'll just kind of start out. There are two lines in here that really I have a certain relationship with, and I ran into some problems. The aspirant always has to be in readiness to serve the cause of humanity. And the other line is, if the aspirant were to seek opportunities for himself to render service, it would be a form of selfishness. So I'll kind of give you a little idea of my sojourn with this.
What was that second one again, Jeff?
If the aspirant were to seek opportunities to serve, it would be a form of selfishness.
Huh?
1 second. Anyway, so here's what. So, when I first came to the center here in Myrtle Beach, Baba's presence was so powerful that, I mean, I could have leaped 50 feet in the air. I mean, the presence of Baba's love was so powerful. And so I was kind of pumped up to serve. And, you know, I grew up in a family where the emphasis was on serving your fellow beings. I mean, they didn't really push it on us kids, but it was kind of, I kind of imbibed at that. So I thought, well, when I started working here, you know, I kind of rolled up my sleeves and I was ready to go. And, you know, what Baba, early on, Baba began doing this. He began trying to get me to make the distinction between good and love. And my early years with here at the center, it's like Baba had me over a microscope trying to distinguish between good and love. And back then I was, you know, basically had kind of conflated them. You know, what is the difference between good and love? But Baba seemed to be insistent upon that. And I read there were Inayat Khan, who was, you know, a fifth plane saint. He said that the good draws upon a limited reservoir of energy, and love draws upon an unlimited reserve of energy. Now, because I couldn't really quite make that distinction, what happened is after about 8 years, I had completely depleted myself. I ran completely out of energy, so that I was like dead. I was so dead that, I mean, nothing could make any difference. No sleep, supplements, nothing made any difference. And, you know, it was really incredible. And what was I going to say? So what happened is that, you know, there's the line there. I wish I had kind of understood it, where Baba said, if the aspirant were to seek opportunities to serve, it would be a form of selfishness. I mean, I thought, hey, what, you know, service, what's the problem there? I mean, we're here to serve. But I didn't get the meaning of that, but you know, he said it would be a form of selfishness. So part of what I was doing was out of good, and some of it was out of love. And I couldn't really make the distinction. So, like I say, after 8 years, I was completely dead. And even though I could still move around, I could do the job and everything. And so I went to India, and I was there in the most magnificent place on earth with the greatest souls on earth. It didn't make even a dent in that deadness. I mean, Baba's tomb, nothing made it was at an internal state. So I came back for that year. I kind of slogged through, made it through another year, and I went back to India, and still no change in this deadness. Nothing could make a dent in it. And so after I was there a month and I had one week to go, I was biking from Ahmednagar out to Mehrabad, and about halfway out there, I felt a deep concern in myself. Not that there was any feeling, it was just coming out of deadness. But I said to Baba, I can't, you know, I'm completely dead. I've got nothing to give. I'm through. I may not even be able to go back at work at the center. I can't do this anymore. All I want to do is just put my head on your lap and fall asleep. Don't ask me to do any more. Now this all happens within about 2 minutes. I'm biking on my way. Don't ask me to do any more. Baba said, I heard Baba from within, but I don't need you. I can do what I have to do through this one or that one or no one at all. And rather than feeling insulted by that, I felt this like little pinprick of relief. Oh my God, he doesn't need me. I don't know. So I realized in that moment that 95% of what I considered my responsibility to Baba and my fellow human beings, 95% of it was imagined. I was kind of shocked. I mean, I didn't think I was making that big a mistake. I was making a complete mistake. So anyway, I'm biking, and I say, well, now that you don't need me, what do you want me to do? And Baba said, do what you love doing. So I came back to the center, and I just pruned back all of the things I felt I should do or I had to do, and I just narrowed it down to things I love doing. And I just kind of continued that way. And after about 3 months, I was doing everything I was doing previously, but I no longer had to do it. That was I went from a state of feeling responsible to a state of non-responsible. I must have thought if I was not responsible, I might lapse into irresponsibility. But it kind of put me in a state of non-responsible responsibility, and I've never been that exhausted again. I mean, I get tired at the end of the day, but I wake up reasonably refreshed, but never had that again. But anyway, so that was my little sojourn with service to Bob. Anyway, so that's my little, kind of get the ball rolling. Anybody have something to say, weigh in on that quote, what it might mean, what it says to you? Oh, Marta.
Yes, hi. Very good lead in to the questions that I asked after I looked at this afternoon, Jeff. And it has to do with responsibility and service. And my question is twofold. The first part is, if you do something for someone out of responsibility, is it service? Or if you feel sad or sorry for them or their situation and you assist them in some way, there's love there, but is it service? And if it's conscious that you're doing something out of responsibility or out of feeling sorry for someone, does that mean that has no element of service in it? And is it better not to do anything?
Oh, we'll get some answers. One thing, though, that occurs to me is you're serving others for Baba's sake. If you frame it that way, you're not serving others per se. You're serving others for Baba's sake. So that brings Baba into it. But we'll stop there and see if who else might be able to respond to that. Those are very good questions. And the whole thing of service, like I say, I because I was off with the service, I completely wiped myself out. And a lot of burnout is due to doing good rather than being loving. Okay. Jaysima. Yeah. Who's next? Uh-oh, we can't hear you.
Marcia?
I think about that a lot of times every time I do something like that, and I catch my mind right away, and I just...
Uh-oh, we lost you.
I try, like when I do stuff, I'm evaluating about that question, where is it coming from? And I just like detach from it, because you just have to feel natural that you're doing something and not be, do it and let it go,
Not think about it too much, you mean?
Yeah, like you can catch your mind when you do that, like, oh, well, look, I did this and I did that. And then, well, you're doing it because Bob has placed you in the situation. So just, do what comes from your heart and let it go. Because otherwise you could attach to everything that you do and be evaluating everything. And then you let your mind make you crazy.
Good. Very good answer. Who's next, Jaysima?
Prakash.
Jai Baba. I'm not answering any questions there, Jeff.
But I thought if I read a couple of messages that I found, it might probably help answer some questions. But here it is. This is from Meher Baba calling. Baba says, serve others as you would serve me. Real happiness lies in making others happy. The real desire is that which leads you to become perfect in order to make others become perfect. Live less for yourself and more for others. Serve others with the understanding that in them you are serving me. When you serve your fellow beings with selflessness, you serve God. Selfless service means that it has to be very natural, that even the thought you're serving should be absent. What God's aspect of honesty means is that you serve others in order to make them happy at the cost of your own happiness. Honesty demands that no show and no fuss is made of your service, and you treat others as you treat your own dear ones. And there ends the message. But I also found another beautiful collection of messages put in Mastery of Consciousness by Alan Cohen. So I won't read the whole thing. Obviously, it's big, but I'm just going to read a few snippets. This is from page 115 and 116. So here he goes. Think of me to such an extent that you see me, however far away I may be. This is from the Awakener. Now, the thing about service comes here. An unexpected benefit of remembrance is its helpfulness to others, because the avatar uses love and energy directed toward him. Remembering Meher Baba with love becomes a significant service to humanity. Let me read that. I don't think I read that right.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So he says, because the avatar uses love and energy directed toward him, remembering Meher Baba with love becomes a significant service to humanity. And it continues actually. The unity and solidarity of the inner plane makes it possible for the master to use his disciple as a medium for his work, even when the disciple is unconscious of serving this larger purpose of the master. This is possible because the disciple, through his love and understanding of the master, as well as obedience and surrender, establishes a rapport with the master and comes into tune with him. The master feeds upon the love of his disciples and utilizes the spiritual forces released by them for his universal work. So in this way, the master is like the relaying station which receives a song only in order to broadcast it to the world at large. To love master is to love all, not merely symbolically, but actually. For what the master receives on the subtle planes, he spiritualizes and distributes. Thus, he not only strengthens the personal links with which disciples may have with him, which the disciples may have with him, but also gives them the privilege of sharing his divine work. That's from Discourses. So that's what I thought I'll read. It looks like from this, just remembering him, honestly, it basically helps us do service to humanity without even being conscious of doing the service. So that's what I got here. Yeah.
Beautiful quote. Yeah. Even I asked Merwan Jesawala, is saying Baba's name inwardly also a form of service to Baba? And he said yes. So even if you don't necessarily see any results, like Prakash read there, it's like a relaying station. He takes your focus on him, spiritualizes it, and broadcasts it to the world at large. It's like, someone's got a garage band and they come up with some songs and they send it up to New York, they mix it, and they put it on the radio stations all over the country. So let's, who's next?
Meher.
And then we got to come back to Marta too. We can't let her just sit in suspense there.
We have Meher.
Okay. Should I read?
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah, Meher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff, this thing, we should give our great this thing time to Meher Baba, and what Meher Baba wants us to do. That is my thoughts in my life. What he wants us to do, what he's trying to tell us, we should learn from him, and that's the way I feel. This is my very great feeling.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of get the feeling from within and then you act from
Yeah.
there.
And because
Yeah.
whenever I do something, I speak to him and I ask him, is this correct? And I have my own ways of talking to him. And I feel that with Baba, I have this thing moved quite a lot in different ways. Because I'd like to do things he's helped me out. Baba's really helped me out.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
You're very fortunate.
Rosalie.
Well, I have a little story about service. I think it was the first time I went up to see Agnes Barron. And I really she was very easy to love, Phyllis Frederick. And I had heard that, she was just right, she was just like that watchdog about Phyllis being psychic, but it never had a bad effect on me. But anyway, I went up with her. I went with Meherji's sister-in-law, who's a doctor, Dr. Pasricha. And we were sitting in the house with Agnes. And, I was kind of keyed up because I thought if she says something about Phyllis, I'm not going to just sit there and take it. And, but what happened was, she said, Agnes says, the people in Los Angeles don't know what service is. And I said, well, Agnes, service could be getting out of the bed in the morning on the right side of the bed. And her name means fire, Agnes. She says, will you shut up? And she said it with such force that I backed up. And then she says, oh, now you're going to pout. And then she raced out of the room like a wildfire. And Portia says to me, Portia was about the same age as Agnes, but she says, don't upset her. She says, she's too old to change. Don't upset her. So anyway, Agnes comes back in and we went on down the hill and we ate at a little place that she used to eat at. And then when we came out and we're in the parking lot, she says to me, she says, you could come back and visit. So she was very into service, but there's all kind of ways to serve. So anyway, what for me, for service is not worrying, an attempt not to worry. And what my attempt is, focus on Baba, and I give those quotes that I love. Constant remembrance of the word of his name and the form in which he manifested consumes the mind. And with the consumed mind, you're not going to be worrying. It goes on further.
Yeah.
Choice choiceless awareness of his ever renewing and indivisible presence, both in and around us, lifts the curtain that veils our vision from truth. And I figure if the curtain's lifted, you don't have to worry about if you're doing selfless service. You just know truth. What can truth be but service? And the other quote that is shorter, it says, only repetition of my name will be enough to free the whole world from its entanglement. So, I'm with what Mirwan Jesawala, he was the last Mandali really that was around. And what does he say? But repeating Baba's name. It's like key. And the thing is, in the shape the world is in right now, we don't know which direction it will go in. It's not our business. I have a lot of people in my neighborhood talking Armageddon and getting guns. So our best defense is anchoring in Baba, because he has the plan. He says, he doesn't plan, but it's all, for what, 700 years he's made the plan. So what to worry about? And he's our master, so he knows what's best, what has to come down or come up or come to the side, so worrying is totally useless, Anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
And also that thing about the new life, it was very important, the cheerfulness, not to go in moping or freaking or, this roller coaster emotions. And, and that takes constant really repeating his name to stay just open to whatever happens. Yeah. Anyway, that's
thank you.
Jai Baba.
Jai Seema, who's next?
Trisha.
Thank you. Jai Baba, everyone.
Yeah.
This just follows on from what Prakash said, and then Rosalie has just repeated the power of Baba's name. It's from the discourses, and it's the occult basis of spiritual life. It's kind of deep, but I think it's really powerful. Okay. Those who have even a preliminary acquaintance with the structure of laws of the inner spheres of existence know that complete isolation of human beings is a figment of imagination. Whether they desire it or not, all persons are constantly acting and interacting upon each other by their very existence, even when they do not establish any contact on the physical plane. There are no limits to the spreading of the influence of a man. The magnetic influence of the subtle spheres knows no barriers of national frontiers or any other conventional limitations. This is the most powerful bit. Good thoughts, as well as evil thoughts, cheerful moods, as well as gloomy moods, noble and expansive feelings, as well as petty and narrow emotions, unselfish aspirations, as well as selfish ambitions, all these have a tendency to spread out and influence others, even when they are not expressed in words or deeds. The world of mental life is as much a unified system as the world of gross matter. The gross world is a vehicle of spiritual life. The gross world as a vehicle of spiritual life has its own indubitable importance, but the links and connections existing between different persons can by no means be fully estimated if we merely consider the tangible transactions which take place in the gross world. And I was thinking that that is the service that you can render, is by having good thoughts, cheerful moods. Think when you think positive, that goes out and affects everybody. It's really powerful stuff.
Yeah. You know, beautiful. You know, Baba told Mansari that if I have one lover in a city, that city is protected. You may not be, a person may not be even aware of this higher purpose, but if someone belongs to Baba, he can step right in, he can step in them and get anything done. But what an amazing thing. I mean, it's that Baba told her that and you may just be washing your dishes thinking of Baba, and and other things are going on. Baba can kind of elbow you out and get something done through you without you even knowing it. Anyway, we got
Yeah. Next we have Binge. Not sure if
Yeah.
I pronounced right. Yeah. Binge.
go ahead, Bing. Yeah.
Binge.
Here we go. Thank you. So I just responding, Rosalie made me reflect a little bit. And Rosalie, by the way, was my personal guide on my first trip to India. So very endeared for that connection. But, talking about Agnes, this photo is of Marymount. And, there are different messages to different audiences. And, one message that I really like is to, people who are absorbed as, this group is, there's almost something automatic that one is drawn to just in the order of the day as one proceeds, one finds things. In a Taoist interpretation, the way to do is to be. And it is, there's also a quotation, by doing nothing, nothing is left undone. One, and that may not make sense to a lot of people, but it's, we're just drawn to things. If you look at Mani, for example, every day she'd get up and there'd just be things that would come up and she would be doing them, but it's almost like it's automatic. It just sort of flows through her because of her deep connection and reverence. And for others, there is a message that to an audience that may not be as dialed in, a little more active encouragement for different types of service and the opportunities that come up. But I think the main notion that came up for me is that for different audiences, there's a different kind of encouragement or recommendation or whatever. And Jeff, what you started out saying is your experience, I think is a wonderful example of how one experiences by having some sense of things being taken to, exhaustion, some discomfort, and then finding your natural flow, whatever that might be, and how you're drawn and your energy in balance. But anyway, I appreciate the topic and think
Yeah.
very nicely done.
Great to have you here with all these crazy characters, So,
Rainy.
59 years ago, Mayor Baba said he had a scribe take down most of the notes and what he had to say at the East-West gathering. Any day now, on the 1st of November, 59 years ago. One section says, on service, unless there's brotherly feeling in your hearts, all the words that you speak or print in my name are hollow. All the miles that you travel in my cause are zero. All organizations for my work are but appearances of activity. All buildings to contain me are empty places, and all statues that you make to embody me are of someone else. I have been patient and indulgent over the way you have been doing these things because you have been very young children in my love, and children must have some sort of games to play. But now you are older and are beginning to realize that there is a greater work ahead of you than what you have been doing. And you have been searching your minds and hearts as to what this work might be. It is not a different work to what you have been doing. It's the same work but done in a different way. And that way is the way of effacement, which means the more you work for me, the less important you feel in yourself. You must always remember that I alone do my work. Although only the one who has become one with God can serve and work for all, I allow you to work for me so that you have the opportunity to use your talents and capacities selflessly and so draw closer to me. You should never think that in your work for me, you are benefiting others. For by being instrumental in bringing others to me, you are benefiting yourself. My work is your opportunity. But when you allow yourself to intervene between you and my work, you are allowing the work to take you away from me. When you put my work before yourself, the work will go right, although not necessarily smoothly. And when the work does not go right, it means you have put yourself between it and its accomplishment. The way of my work is the way of effacement, which is the way of strength, not weakness. Through it, you become mature in love. At this stage, you cannot know what real love is. But through working for me, as you should work for me, you will arrive at that rightness where, in a moment, I can give you that which you have been seeking for millions of years.
Wow. Whew. Beautiful. We should try to get down to the mechanics of it here. Now we know all the ideals. Now what kind of problems do you come up with in trying to serve? You know, ooh. Let's see, Jessima.
Yeah, I mean, can we go to Tony and come back to Meher?
Yeah.
Hey, hi. I'm not in the best state to share today, but I did want to get in on this a little bit. I was thinking of Baba says at one point talking about humility. To try to be humble is humbug. It's one of my favorite little quotes. I think that also applies to try to serve. I've spent a good 8-9 years of my life tangled up in wanting to serve and be of selfless service and what would Baba want me to do and it was insane. It was the ego trying to steer the ship that only the heart can steer. I think I like like I've said this before, this prayer from A Course in Miracles, and I have recourse to it often. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? And I use Baba's name when I say this prayer. And then just wait and just listen and then go on and act. And as Charles Haynes says in his book about quotes Elizabeth saying that when you do that, say in the beginning of the day itself is Baba's answer. A story came to mind. I was at the UN for 30 years, and I almost didn't go because I didn't completely ace the first test, and they wanted me to come back again, and I wasn't going to bother. And Chris Rieger happened to hear of this, and he felt Baba wanted me there at the UN. I didn't, but he was so clear that he felt that. I said, well, am I going to ignore Baba speaking to Chris? So I went back, and I wound up there for 30 years. And it was clear on many occasions over those years why Baba wanted me there, and specific times when he was clearly using me, but I had no idea what for. And the one example that comes to mind is it was the World Conference on Children, the first World Conference on Children, and I was assigned, I had a special all-access pass to cover any press conferences that would come up, because there were all foreign ministers and presidents and so on. As it turned out, there weren't many press conferences, so I just got to hang out with all of these the first President Bush and lots of people. But by the second day, it was a 2-day affair, I was going to lunch, and I had seen up close and rubbing elbows almost with all of these, I'm forgetting their names, most of them now. And I was going to lunch, and right near there was the Security Council chamber. And a lot of the foreign ministers and presidents have been having private meetings, taking advantage of being in the same place. And Shevardnadze, who was the advisor to Gorbachev, had just had him, he was the foreign minister of the Soviet Union, and he had just had a private meeting with the foreign minister of Israel, and they had for the first time agreed to exchange consulates or embassies. And as I happened to be coming out just as he was standing there, and a horde of reporters had their mics in his face. And I had been having this thought, so what? Really, what does all this mean? And I said, Baba, unless I feel your hand in this, this means nothing. And what can I really do? And it suddenly occurred to me what I can do. And this is while I'm watching Shevardnadze way across the plaza there. I can take your name. And so silently, I began to say, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba. And instantly, Shevardnadze, who was besieged by all these people, and I was some distance away at a different level, looked up at me and caught my eye. And he just held it. And then he just said, okay, that's it, we're finished. And clearly, it was clear to me that on some level he had heard Baba's name as I was saying it mentally. That afternoon, I was in another area, and all the presidents were passing by, and we had to back up to leave them space. Shevardnadze was across on the other side. He saw me, and he waved like I was an old friend of his. Years passed. By the way, he was the voice of Glasnost, the opening to the West. Gorbachev did the perestroika, the structuring, but he was the one who advised Gorbachev on opening up to the West. And at some point, the Soviet Union dissolved, and at some point, Shevardnadze became the president of Georgia, and I happened to be assigned to go in and cover a Security Council meeting that he was speaking at. And it was a big rush, and I got my job, and I was there with a partner. And suddenly the meeting was over. And I said to him, did Shevardnadze leave? Because I want to see if there's still this connection, And he said, I don't know. And he said, oh, I think he's right there. And I turned and looked at him, and from across the room, he went, again, like he was greeting an old friend. Baba made a connection. I don't know him. He didn't know me. But he heard Baba's name. There are lots of other things that happened, but so to be open to Baba, to remember Baba, to ask him what you would have me do, then it takes the ego out of it. And it's not that you're trying to figure out how to serve. You remember him, and as you said, Jeff, if there's one person in a city, he can use that one person. You're being open to him using you. Otherwise, service, the idea of service, I feel, is so rife with pitfalls of ego that I try to avoid it at all costs.
Beautiful, Tony. That's great. That's wonderful. Gives you a living example. Yeah.
Meher?
Meher?
Yeah. Jai Baba, I just want to read something which I got a quote today. For me, the thing that counts is love and heart, no worldly position. If there's a balance of the head and the heart, it would be ideal. And if there's a combination of head and heart and money, then that would really be something. Avatar mein Baba ki jai.
Thank you, Meher. Yeah. You know, I wanted to mention one thing as far as service is, you know, the Japanese have an expression to be able to read the air in a situation, to be able to see what is being called for, what need is there. You know, that you might be in a situation, there was sometimes at the center, you know, there'll be some little kid, and I can tell he wants someone to play with, you know, and so you respond. You could call it service, but I don't think of it as service. It's just responding to a need or a longing, you know, or someone comes and I feel like there's something's happened, and you know, I kind of tune into them a little bit, you know, and I find out that they're going through a divorce, you know, so you're able to kind of read these things and respond to a need without kind of pushing yourself on it, but it just happens naturally if we're sensitive. There's who was it that I can't remember, but one of there was one guy named Walsh. Can't remember his first name. He had these conversations with God, and one of the things that message he got from Jesus was this: to ask yourself, what would love do now? Ask yourself that question, and I will be with you always in all ways. But it's a beautiful thing. What would love do now? And then wait and see. Anyway, we got
Marsha.
We still have to get back to Martha too and her questions.
I happened to open up the discourses, and I'm on page 90, and this is a chapter on selfless service. There's a whole lot, but I have some passages that I underlined, so I'm just going to do a few of those. It says here, this is referring to a person. He may be selfless, but his actions create chaos instead of harmony because he has not learned how to render real and effective service without creating complications. If action is to be a pure blessing for the universe, it must be born of consummate understanding of life. Those who come in contact with me should develop true understanding of life and cultivate that type of service which creates no complications. Then I'm going to skip down. However, when he renders selfless service with spiritual understanding, it not only confers spiritual benefit upon himself, but also promotes the material and spiritual well-being of others involved. Selfless service must be based upon understanding if it is to be unmixed boon for all concerned. There may be some qualifying circumstances which in a particular situation require that the needy person should not be given food for his own good. And that might help him to increase the burden of samskaras. I'm going to skip to the next page. And that could be like that's like in some cases when you give service to somebody, why Baba says not to give things to some people. It's because it might end up being a disservice, because you don't know what's going on. This is my own thing with this karma. And then, in fact, the spiritual point of view, the real danger in service lies more in the possibility of your rendering it from a false motive than in making a mistake about spiritual demands of the situation. If you render service in order to oblige a person, and if you feel proud of doing it, you are not only bringing spiritual harm to the recipient of your service, but also to yourself. If while serving, you take delight in it and develop pride in doing a good thing, you are getting attached to your act and therefore binding yourself. Just as one may get bound by an iron or a golden chain, so also a person can get spiritually bound by his attachment to evil or good deeds. Hence, the way to remain free from karma is to remain completely detached in service. The consciousness that I am obliging someone is the first to occur during the process of serving, but it can be annulled by the contrary thought, I am obliged by giving this opportunity of serving. This latter thought facilitates the attitude of detachment and secures freedom from the bondage of good actions. Service based upon comprehensive understanding is not only selfless and adjusted to the spiritual demands of the recipient, but is rendered with the complete detachment. Such service takes the aspirant to the goal most rapidly. The value of service depends upon the kind of good secured through it. Ministering to the bodily needs of others is service. Cultivating of the intellect of others is service. Feeding the hearts of people is service. Satisfying the aesthetic requirements of society is service. All these forms of service are not of the same value if they are accompanied by a spirit of selflessness. The kind of well-being that is sought through service will depend upon the vision of the person, and who has the clearest perception of the final good will be in a position to render the most important and valuable type of service. Those who have not found the supreme truth are incapable of this highest type of service. Their service cannot have the same value for creation as the service of a person who has arrived at finality and spiritual understanding, and since true service begins after realization. But then he says, nevertheless, the spirit of service that is invariably present in aspirants and good person can be harnessed and creatively utilized for spiritual purposes. It is allied with the work of the master. The master serves the whole universe out of the finality of his infinite consciousness. And those who serve the master and obey him also have their share in this universal work. So,
Yeah. Hey, but now we've read a lot of what Bob has said, but like, what problems or challenges do you folks come up with in serving? I mean, the actual down on the street level, or right on the ground floor. I mean, we kind of know the ideal of service, but like, you might have a friend who's very needy, and so you're in a difficulty. How much do you do you listen to their problems? How much do you you can get totally worn out. So how far can you go in helping them, and where do you have to kind of draw the line and think of not entirely depleting yourself? So well, anyway, we got, is this in response to the question?
I'm involved in that right now with my niece and a couple other people, and I'm listening to them, and maybe for 2 hours at a time, and I'm saying, "Whoa, I have to be very careful what I say, because once you have things pop out of your mouth, you can't take them back, and then you want to be careful not to harm them, but you want to be there to listen to them. But after that, it's like really hard to. You want to help them, but you really have to be careful what you do, because I don't, you just know that what you say is going to stick somewhere, because that's happened to me. So like usually I'll do the best I can, and then I like get ready for bed and I get down on my hands and knees and do the prayers from Baba about entrusting everything to him, that I do think, speak good or bad, and do that and turn over in my mind everything that's happened and pray for these people. I give it to Baba. So that's all I can do,
Yeah. Well, let's try. We'll do Diane first. Diane and Terry.
I For me, I think that service is most interactions with humans, animals. I feel that when I come to something with love, loving kindness, it's what Bubba wants me to do. I can't really explain it any other way. And, you know, we were talking tonight because I feel like right now, like you did, Jeff, when you talked about that exhaustion, that dead
Yeah.
feeling. And I'm feeling really exhausted. And, you know, we realized that even before COVID, I didn't even want to retire, want to cut back days, nothing. I was really content to work. And since COVID, I'm exhausted and I feel like you felt. And I want, you know, so there's a part of me that wonders, is it situational or is it Baba telling me maybe it is my time to kind of slow down and be more with him? Well, I'm always with him though. I mean, I forget sometimes, but I'm with him every time I think about it. So it's puzzling, but I feel that, I don't know, I feel that life is being of service. Like, why else do it? I'm not really sure I understand any other way. And there's no like pride or, I mean, sure, when someone smiles because something you help them with, it makes you feel good, but it's, you know, it's Baba that's doing it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and then, but then it's like you say, it's hard to tell whether you're wearing yourself out a little bit more than you should, you know, for your own kind of inner vitality. But yeah, I mean, just the sheer volume of things we have to do nowadays in the workplace and everything will wear you out. Even if you do everything kind of in a spirit of freedom and love, you can still certainly get worn out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw the Mandali, boy, they look like they had the 25th mile of the marathon. They were just pulling up.
So maybe that's just the way it is.
When did they look like that, Jeff?
Oh, all the latter years. I mean,
because they had to spend so much time giving to pilgrims?
Yeah, they gave and gave and gave. Mani used to say that retirement for them was you got tired and then you got tired again and you got tired again. So that's their retirement was
love that.
Getting retired or retired like you know, the same old retread. I mean, the same tires but retreads. Let's see what wait, well, there was someone else. Oh yeah, Marion, you were going to say something.
Well, hi. I was really trying to collect my thoughts because I appreciate everybody sharing. Of course, Baba's name and observing myself and all that. I want to speak just from where I am right now and what I have learned. Fortunately, I've had a lot of, in my professional training as a transformational therapist, which is the whole self, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, a lot of training in processing the lower self, the shadow side, and this being very crucial in my service, because I do have to, since I have a tendency to try to be the good girl and pleasing, then underneath that is a lot of negativity. It's not good and pleasing. And so I find that, I don't know what's the saying, you know thyself, know thyself. So that's my motto. And of course, I am not going to go into my relationship with Baba because I'm here because of that, and saying Baba's name and turning everything over. And so I know that I have to be very mindful at home because I do a lot of clearing before I go out to be with anybody, or before I even go to the supermarket or any place outside, because I meet people on the street. I'm in New York City. I meet lots of people and have wonderful engagements. And all that to me is service, is being authentic. So that's the word I want to put across. And I can't tell anybody else how to be authentic. I can only do that for myself. I know when I am and when I'm not. When I have a lot of negativity, which I do, so a lot of hatred comes up. I hate everybody I know sometimes in one day. Family and friends and everything. I just hate them all and judge them all. And that's when I'm very grateful for the prayer of repentance, because I use the prayer of repentance as a tool. So I say, yeah, Baba, that one, wishing, pain on others. Yeah. Then I have my list of who I'm wishing pain on. And then I process it to find out is something that I feel about myself. Everything negative is a projection. It's all a projection. But I got to go through, for me personally, the intensity of the contrast, seeing what I'm doing so it's not buried in my unconscious. And so that's my commitment. So I love the prayer of repentance as a tool, because I also like to line everybody up and get out my gun and shoot everybody. But I never do any of this without telling Baba that these people triggered it in me. They do not cause anything in me. They trigger what's already in me. And I am using this as a tool, this emotion, because the emotion body, we have 7 bodies, and the emotional body does not mature unless it is expressed, which is not meaning dumping on anybody, expressed. The emotion body, and it's not feelings, emotions do not mature unless they are expressed. So I do this as Baba's grace. And I look, and I tell Baba, I'm now going to do this, and I let it rip. And then I always feel like his picture is smiling at me, because I've taken responsibility for, living the prayer of repentance and really allowing that movement. So it's movement, because even in silence and stillness, there is movement. So having those tools, I feel just Baba's grace in having those tools, because the other side of the good girl is mean, nasty Marion. And mean, nasty Marion needs some space, but not run the show. So I'll end with that.
Yeah, no, I like that. But being authentic is a real form of service, really. I like what you say. Just you meet a genuine person, and it does a lot for your heart. Let's go to who's next? Jaysima.
Meherchand.
Merchant.
Hey, Jai Mer Baba. Jeff.
Yeah.
I feel is one of the concept of Baba is mastery in servitude. And also Baba says, with love you can mend any person. That's where the title given by, that is love alone prevails. And third concept I say is serving the humanity is serving the Lord. This concept was explained when I was the first time as a volunteer for Amartiti. When Pendu Kaka was the in charge for that, he told me, you should be polite to all the pilgrims who attend, because they are all our guests. Baba says, all lovers are my guests. You should serve them with full-hearted devotion and see that they should be comforted. And third concept of mine is that always says, Baba, during the Amartitis, most of the time there were separate, so many people will come, they in the tent and all that. And we have to serve, we got a different department, like persons like tent duties, bath duties, and the cleaning duties, and securities, and all that. And sometimes we feel, but one of the fundamental things which our organizers like Chief Volunteer Pendu and Jal used to say, it is Baba has given the opportunity to serve. You should not feel pride that you are doing the Baba's. You should not be pride that I'm the in charge and all that. Serve and try to be very persuasive. Say that please try to, because the accommodation is a big problem during Amartiti. Try to persuade them. See, try to visualize and practically explain them, and say that Baba wants. Baba work can be done by Baba himself. There's no need. That is an opportunity given to you. You should be very, very, very specifically tell them you have come here for Baba, and we are trying to do our best services to you and within our parameters. And thirdly and secondly, also I always feel that Baba has said in the well, one of the messages is given in 1958 that while going down to Samadhi, remember two things. Love me wholeheartedly. Love means not the external love. Love means love means not the external, but love me from the bottom up. If you cannot love you, if you cannot love me, and I will love you and you will be my beloved. And sacrifice your own comforts for the sake of others. That's the reason I feel that you should sacrifice some amount of sacrifice. You should not feel that I am sacrificing it. You should not take pride. You should serve as per the Baba's. We are thinking that it's an opportunity given, so you have to serve for the with the devotion and love, and you should not fail. Sometimes I feel when we are going on. Sometimes when I'm going on a road, I feel. Sometimes if you are going on a road, something you see some accident. Somebody fell down on the road, where you feel some suddenly you should feel you doesn't see that who is that person at all, whether he is a leper, is a beggar, is a big man or something. Your spontaneity is that way. Try to put him and brought him next to the footpath or somewhere place and give him some water or something. That is the real service I feel. And second and first part is you should serve. It is in the Baba has always says serve, that when your attitude should reflect, oh, if Jeff is doing this much service and Jeff is such a nice person, and the person who loves Jeff loves Baba, and Baba will be great. That reflection should be brought among the others. So what I feel is, what is real service? Real service means you should not expect anything. Without any this thing, you have to serve. And one quotation I would like to read, that is uh, from the book called You and I, compiled by the Rick M. Chapman, that is, for you to bow down to me, to perform my arti, to worship me, is not what I have come amongst you for. I expect much from you. I have come to receive your love and to bestow my love on you. Love others as you would love yourself, and all that is yours if you feel for others in the same way as you feel for your dear ones and your loving God. So the one of the motive, even according to the Gita and even according this, serve the humanity. Manava Seva, Madhava Seva means serve the humanity means serving the Lord. So you should not any amount of pride or any should not be in service, and spontaneously you should serve so that Baba will appreciate. And he is the guiding factor. Even if you doesn't know how to serve and you are taking a one step, he'll take you and he'll give you an opportunity to serve him. That is my understanding of Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Chand. You know, there was something that Rainey read, when you read from the East-West Gathering, Baba said the main thing there's, if you don't have brotherly feeling in your heart, all the miles you go in my name, all the service, there was a whole list of things. But that feeling of brotherly, sisterly closeness is really an element that there may be more service in acknowledging that brotherly sisterliness than what you actually do physically for somebody. I think you're next, Rainey.
Rainy.
Yes, I've I've learned a lot from memorizing this book, but it's not just that. It's about good and scrutinizing good
Yeah.
and the desire to look good and be good and be a good girl, Rainey, and the type of ego that gets involved in being good. I'm around a particular family distantly, the 7 girls who are always good. They're the angriest bitches I've ever met in my life. And of course, everybody looks at me, or as another person on this page knows, in our situation with our children, everybody thinks we're so good. Oh, God damn it, they think we're so good. just not that good. We're just doing the job at hand. And so I've had to give up glancing at the person and like give them the water. And I've got all these little things like Marion talks about that I do before I reach out to do something to look good or feel proud of myself or that type of thing. One of them is a great line from Erich. My life is not my own, and I'm used to it. My life is to give with what he's given me to do well. And it's bloody boring. And it's every day. It's not like other people with children with psychological problems. It's day to day, boring, physical, 1, 2, 3. So my life is not my own and I'm used to it. There's a lot of phone time here and I can listen. And there's sisterly feeling in my heart. I don't have siblings. Where did it come from? It came from Baba. There's sisterly feelings. I can listen a lot and I've gotten to do it like an auntie or a great grandmother. I'm not sure where I am at this point. But I listen a lot because I've got a lot of time in care providing to listen. So that sisterly, brotherly feeling is real. It's developed all by itself. And then the other is be cautious. A pickaxe for each in a stretch of road to gravel. That's a gift. It's a gift from Baba. Pickaxe and the stretch of road to gravel and get on with it. So why do others the disservice of smooth traveling? We've got to balance it out. We've got to work it out. There's a spontaneous thing and it might just work nicely and you do feel good and they needed the good and you were drawn to it, or it might not and you'll suffer like hell for it, you know. It's just a matter of, have I done my own service here? Have I done the service in the realm of the 100 people intimately linked to me here? And here's the stranger that needs my help. Is there anything left, or will they have to put on my tomb, you know, I do wish we hadn't killed her, it's so difficult now, which I want on my tombstone if I die prematurely, by the way, with 27 witnesses here. We just have to, as we get to be an elder, we have to balance it out. As Jeff said, oh, we're fried. When you feel fried, you've gobbled it up and you feel good, but it's a high. Baba said, don't get high. Don't take drugs. Don't do that. Because bang, down you'll go. Oh, dear Lord, down you'll go. So, and the more you do it, it's like intuition. The more you do it, the better you get at it and the less stylized it is. So we have to balance between our good and our bad selves, or ourselves and the shadow self, or whatever we care to call it, but not overextend ourselves in distraction from him.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, I've found the greatest gift that I got from the Mandali is, and you may all have had the same thing, they gave me a feeling of belonging more than any kind of lovely things they did or gave me. They gave me a feeling of belonging, and that just has always remained, you know. And it's a different, you know, you could say it's a great service, but it's just a very human thing. And I, especially when I first went there, and I thought, well, I was kind of wondering if Baba really, you know, was personally interested in me. But when they were interested in me, I thought by extension, maybe Baba's interested in me. You know, that personal. So it's that feeling of belonging is like I say, could be one of the greatest services that we can give one another.
So Jeff, are you saying then the Mandali are gone? So they made you feel a certain way, but they're gone and your life is now. So are you saying to extend that belonging, helping someone to feel that they belong, is what you carry in your life now from what happened with the Mandali? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they gave me that feeling, and I, I, I've just continued it. You know. And you can say, I don't feel the mandali are even gone. They're just, they were out in front of me previously, now they're behind me. You know, they just moved, they shifted position in my being, you might say. But that feeling of belonging, if you feel that you belong, you could be in a gutter, freezing cold and hungry. But if you belong, you can tolerate that. But if you don't belong to anyone, it's the worst. Even an uncomfortable chair is too insulting. You know, I feel. But I like to hear some of the. Well, I want to go back to Marta. Now, Marta had those questions.
Jeff, I think Meher has something else to say, maybe first.
Okay.
Meher?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just answering to Terry's question, this is what she had said. Don't worry, my love will give you that strength and conviction which makes you feel that you belong to God. Seek truth with all your heart, and Baba will help. I am in this world to help people to love God, to find Him and see Him. Avatar Mer Baba.
Yeah. So, Marta.
That says it all, Jeff. Meher covered it.
No, what were those? Can you remember those questions that you asked?
Yes. If you do something for someone out of responsibility, is it service? Or if you feel sad or sorry for them and their situation, is this service or is it better not to act?
Mm.
You know, Rainey addressed aspect of, I think she said this because when she starts talking, she starts to go fast and I'm not sure I can understand her accent, but I think she said that that you don't overextend yourself, but you do what's at hand, and that people view you as being good or giving or loving, but you're just doing, it's not your life. You're just doing what comes in front of you. And is that kind of the gist of what you said, Rainey?
Yeah, y'all. Yeah, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll drop my jaw and I'll add my R's and I'll slow right down.
Oh, God.
Yeah. No, it's. Yeah, I mean, like what Rainey read there. If you're doing, I think, if you're doing it out of brotherly, sisterly love, you're kind of in a. It's not. You're not doing it for good. You're doing it out of a feeling of belonging and connection, rather than I'm going to do this to you. You know, I'm being good to you.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, is
Yeah.
that by listening and letting the person say all they've got to say instead of overlapping it like a harmony part, that you've got to solve this. You don't. They're going to solve it. We're grown-ups now. They're going to solve it. So you've just got to listen and let them go over it, sometimes 20 times with one of my friends. But in the end, she solves it. And that's a form of sisterly feeling or brotherly feeling, is to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. You could have an entirely, what can I say? You could have a profession with practically no competition. if you want to listen to others. Nobody will nobody will envy you. No one will want your job. Hey, so Diane, yeah.
Eons ago, I was giving left and right, totally unconsciously. And all of a sudden, my dad ended up in the hospital. And when my mother made the call to me, I was so depleted, I couldn't even get in the car to go. I mean, I was down to my bone marrow. I had given everything away. And I think if one had asked me if I was being of service during that time, I would have thought yes. But it made me think then and now, especially with this conversation, that it's kind of an inside job. If there isn't a replenishment internally, and that replenishment can be any, I mean, when I give service to someone or I give what looks like service, usually the person on the receiving end does not know my internal process. They don't know if I'm doing the questions according to Marta, you know, is this service based on obligation or because that's how I roll? But my insides know it. And there's just so long I can go with lying to myself before I get down to that bone marrow. Because if I'm giving for the wrong reasons, there's no replenishment. And the well's going to dry up. And I'm not going to be able to even go to the hospital to see my father.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, the shoulds can I mean, I think of should doing things that is like plan B. When love isn't forthcoming, sometimes you just have to do what you should do. You have to do the good thing or the right thing. But I prefer not to do that. Let love be the doer. But sometimes, you know, you get a call at 3 in the morning and you don't feel like going and helping somebody with their plumbing that's overflowing or something like that. That doesn't spring out of love doesn't spring out of you. But you have to do it. But there's shoulds, but shoulds can I've had to be very careful about shoulds because they drain. They can drain a lot of energy. But we are sometimes stuck with shoulds, unfortunately. I am. You know, I try to avoid it. I try to do things out of love or frame it so that it's not a should, but it's I go to Baba and say, Baba, you got to help me with some love on this because otherwise I feel I should do it. Let me do it out of love. Anyway, Tony.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to not to invalidate what anyone has been saying. Even it might seem this way at first, but it's not. All this about draining yourself in what's not real service, and what popped to mind, and it's quite true what everyone's been saying about that. But it also popped to mind. There's a wonderful passage, and I don't remember it word for word, but where Baba talks about in real service, it may totally drain you in every possible way and wear you out and wear you to the bone, and somehow you have to carry on and keep doing it. And it's like I say, it's not to say the other isn't true, but when it is real, when there's a real opportunity of service, you may wind up not getting sleep from nights in a row, or you might be having to work round the clock on something. Or you might have to emotionally put yourself out there in a way that's really exhausting. But if there is the feeling that I'm connected with Baba when this is going on, that this is not something I'm doing, but that Baba has brought to me to do, then that exhaustion, that ordeal is fine. It's not fine when you're coming from a place of ego insufficiency or trying to please people or trying to be good or helpful. But when it's Baba bringing you an opportunity, if you look at what he did with the Mandali, some of the stories of the the grueling travels and ego assaults one after the other. I think I certainly experience that from time to time, and it's not a bad thing. It's just you have to somehow
Yeah.
learn to get your resources tied into Baba.
Yeah, no, very good point. In fact, I think what Diane was talking about, what I was talking about is like over time, you've gone through your checking account, you've gone through your savings account, you know, and that it's not like getting exhausted and you know, and then getting some rest and getting back on your feet again. This is kind of a slow kill, you know, where over time you just really have been giving more than you're being replenished.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying this. There's good exhausted and there's not good
Yeah,
exhausted.
yeah, that was a good point. Very good.
Go here, please.
I love how she always calls on me. I hear you, Marta. I really do. And it brings me back to just a couple of years, well, many, many years now. For 27 years, my mom came and lived with us. And for the first so many, it was a responsibility, you know. I was the only daughter. I was the only child left. She didn't feel comfortable staying at home after my father had passed and after my brother had passed. So she wanted to come and live with us. So, you know, nothing to be done but come on over. So she came and she lived with us for 27 years, the last 27 years of her life. And it was a big responsibility in the sense that she was not somebody that wanted to be her own person, have her own circle of friends, even though we encouraged her so much. And it completely changed our lives because, you know, we were as a family with our 3 children. Our lives were totally changed when she came to live with us on a practical level. And you had to adapt and you had to, change your ways here and there. And it was, to be honest, quite a struggle at times. For me, especially, it was a tug of war between pleasing my family on the one hand or pleasing her. And so at times I would, you know, really ask, and in the later years, of course, then she went into dementia, and the last few years were extremely difficult. In the sense, you know, I was basically her caretaker the last so many years that she was with us. And it wasn't easy. It was a real uphill climb. And I would be exhausted after a while. It was really a drain. And not that I minded doing it, but after a while, it really gets to you. And it was totally just mentally, physically exhausting. So you have to go within and ask Baba, is this really service that I'm doing in your name? But then you go and you replenish yourself in Baba as well. And you say, well, you've put me in this place. This is what I am doing. And when I do it with you in mind, when I'm doing it, saying that it's Baba, it's you that's, you know, doing it, not me, then it becomes easier. So I would just have to tell myself to think, Baba, it's you, not me doing it. And so this would get me through. I hope that answers.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
As always, beautiful.
You know,
just perfect. Thank you.
There's Janet in a second, but there was a beautiful thing. Dan Ladinsky was walking with Erich and Merwan Jesawala one time on the approach road, and Merwan quoted Upasni Maharaj, who said this, and Erich agreed with the truth of it. He said, "It is not the great good fortune of everyone to be able to serve the avatar or a perfect master directly. But God has made a concession to everyone that in serving your dying parents, that is tantamount to serving a perfect master or the avatar directly."
Wow.
So
Wow.
all those who have gone through that, that is tantamount to serving Baba directly. And
I never heard that before.
yeah, and a lot of people have given up their lives to go look after their dying parents and left Myrtle Beach or whatever a whole life, and sometimes for years, like Marge Cucci, who's, oh, here she is, went down and look after her mother till she passed on. But I mean, it might have been 15 or 20 years, I don't know. Anyway, Janet.
Well, I've heard you say that before about caring for your parent, and I thought as you were talking, I could see the diamond that had been worn in her heart for caring for her mother. So that was lovely. But what I was going to say is that, like, this week well, it happened last week. A friend is visiting from out of town, and she's a person who's a company I prefer not to have in abundance, if that makes sense.
New way of putting it.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I think that explains it. So I saw her last week, and she came over, and we had dinner, and I visited, and you know, it was fine. It was fine. The time passed quickly. All 3 hours of listening, I got my listening taken care of. But then all of a sudden, it came to me, and it was as if Baba was saying to me, Janet, you need to invite her over again this coming week for dinner and cook dinner. And I'm kind of busy right now because I have work and various things, but I could tell it wasn't coming from me because I didn't want to, if that makes sense to you. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
sure.
I could feel that it was Baba nudging me to do it. And I think it was this thing that people have been talking about, and that is this feeling of brotherhood and sisterhood. This person is craving that. And my nephew will be here that night. And so it's something that can be offered, the feeling of brotherhood and sisterhood. And so I feel like what Tony was saying, you know, I'm not comparing myself to a Mandali, but not even remotely. But I mean, what Tony was saying in terms of it not, that it pushes my edge. It pushes the edge of my envelope to do this, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll do the cooking and da 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 da. And to know that it is Baba that wants me to be doing it. I don't have any question about it, because it isn't my personality self that wants it. It's and so it's so interesting to be given that opportunity to be the hands and mouth and ears and eyes for Baba in that way. I mean, and if I can just keep this conversation that everybody's had tonight in mind, that will help me greatly, because I know as time progresses and I near when I'm doing it, and I can get, you know, as Marion would say, the cranky Janet will come to the surface. The not so pleasant person will arise, even if she doesn't show herself to others. I will know she's there, and to keep in mind, you know, that this is Baba's act, and I'm simply doing the best I can to do what he wants to have done at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Erich used to say, and good-naturedly, but, you know, a statement of his experience. He used to talk about The oppression of love. He used that word, oppression of love. It's kind of, some of it's going to be oppression. But I mean, it's because sometimes in Mandalay Hall, you'd say, if I had my way, I would want to be in my room, in Baba's silence, just thinking of him. But I know that he wants me out here in Mandalay Hall sharing all these stories and being with you. So here I am. But, he would say, the oppression of love. So there's going to be a certain amount of that. Just to kind of bear with it as healthily as possible, I guess.
Well, that's beautiful, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
now, well, I guess we should wind up, except we do have Alan Manukian who might have something to say, but we're just springing it on him. Maybe he's, completely brain dead. We don't know.
What happened to all that hair, Alan?
What was that?
What happened to all that hair you had before?
I don't know. I woke up and it was gone.
No, you look great. Yeah. Thank
Yeah. Yes. So sorry, I'm coming in kind of late here. I was visiting my mother, but was appreciating what people were sharing, and I just really appreciated one of the last times I was in this group. I was thinking about Baba's when Baba said that we'll be connected by these inner links, and I felt I don't know if I felt, it was not even a feeling. It was I was in the presence of, for me, in my inner world, that is the closest experience of home, of what I want. All this suffering, I want that. I want to go back to that. And that moment kind of was very surprising to me when I think it was the last meeting, and I think Tony was sharing something that I think it was a poem or something. I kind of heard it suddenly, and then it was almost as if, and this is where for me, hearing about Baba talk about grace, and then you can't pray for it, you beg for it, you can't japa and your ceremonies, and you can whatever you do, it's like. It's the grace, like that grace is, and so when that happens, and that's really affected me this whole week. It's been very helpful to kind of carry me through some rough times. So, being in the presence, and I think another person sort of sang at the very end, she sang such a beautiful, it was like hauntingly beautiful. It was like I was just in the presence of all of my friends who we've known each other for so long, and we're all played there's so many different roles, and the costume set is wild. We've all been on stage so many times together, and it was just very beautiful. I just want to share that. Thank you for that, and for this ongoing connection that everyone is having. This is very helpful and very, very beautiful in Baba's love and service. Very grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a kind of a recognition of each other, and it's not just this time around.
Yeah. Not the first rodeo.
Yeah. I don't normally share this, but when I was first living in Myrtle Beach, I worked at Sherry Press, and I actually ran the printing press, which is like, you got to be so one-pointed, and you're following the inking, you're following the tick marks and everything to make sure everything is lined up. And about every once in a while, I would have a vision, like be a mini vision, in a millisecond. And one of them was, I found myself about 300 years ago before a master. There were a few people, and there was some saint or master, and he said that one day I would come to a place where I would enjoy a reunion with many long lost friends. And bam, the next thing I know, oh my God, Myrtle Beach. 300 years back, he was saying that I would enjoy this, what we're having here, you know. He anticipated that. So, met with many long lost friends, and it's amazing that everybody seems so familiar to me, you know, and we're all kind of, you know, rattling around on the stage, you know, playing different parts in the same divine drama with Baba, you know. I mean, so.
Hey, Jeff, could I just say one thing?
Yeah.
You just reminded me, I didn't remember till now, but I was sitting just quietly kind of looking within, and there was this feeling of like this poking, kind of stabbing anxiety that like will not leave. And it's sort of like a shard of glass or something in my heart. And so I decided to sort of sit with it and like, okay, fine, you know, like I can't run from you, can't hold on, I can't let go. I you know, this is just, it's just for driving me mad. I just have to kind of accept that this is happening. And so I just sat there without fidgeting or trying to distract myself. And this is in front of Baba Sadra. And I'm like very uncomfortable, and I'm just not, it's the last thing I want to do is to focus on this shard of glass in my heart. And it felt imperative for me to actually look at it. So I sort of, you know, dropped in, and it got more and more intense and more painful. And I mean, I could say it was like it was like a very sweet, like, I don't know how you say, it was horrific. What I saw was horrific. I mean, it was like my body went so far down into that it went back into sort of like I could feel and hear like these animal sounds, and almost like the exact body position that I was as this little mole rat, or this like little, I literally could feel this same anxiety of like terror of existing, of not wanting to die, not wanting to and then it morphing into like so many different things. And then it kind of came the last, you know, almost like a form, like human hands, and like praying, and like a different scenario of my life, or not this life. I don't know. It just felt so intense. And it almost gave me, you know, whatever it was, I think it was just, I don't know, it was just sort of like touching in on the subconscious icebergs, you know, the archetypes there. But even that moment with Baba, for me, it was like, it kind of ended with me holding my own hands out to him in the present moment, you know, like it just was like all that led to this, and I'm here now. It's in my hands as this form, as this time now. And like after all that, this is now what it's the form of this thing. And it's like, it hasn't gone away, and it might not go away for the rest of this lifetime either. But it was I don't know, there was some sense that like, it's okay, or like, it's been for so long, like I don't have to be so hard on myself, or, you know, like, I don't know. It was just Baba really kind of helped me to let it go a little bit. The fact that it's such an old friend, and to actually say thank you and I love you, even though I don't know what form of shadow that is. It's just thank you for you know, all the times it might have saved my life or might have helped me. And now, as it's in my life now, because it's forcing me to I don't know, move in different ways, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense, but you inspired me to share that. When you go into these type of places in your heart, it just keeps going. It's endless.
Yeah. And right in the middle of that, one day will get realized.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff won't even be complete.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a few moments of silence. We went a little longer than usual. Jai Baba. Wow, we went a little longer tonight than usual. But I'm glad we got more into the experiential side and not just all the great things that Baba said we should do about service, but the problematic side of trying to serve. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Great topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody have any ideas for Tuesday?
Can you find any other good guest speakers, Jeff?
I know it's
I gave you,
yeah.
Mark, I gave you one.
Steve Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll see about Steve Berry. It might be a little last minute, but I'll check on that. If I can find his number and all that. But yeah.
Martha, do you have it?
I can get it for you, Jeff, if you want it.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll see if he's up for sharing some of his experiences.
Hi, Payam.
Hi, Payam.
Hi,
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Hey,
I've been
Baba.
listening to all of you. It's
I
been
know.
wonderful. It's been a great day. Jai Baba.
Hey, Papa.
Hey, Baba.
What words Bob spring to mind for you, Payam?
You know, his grace, just his presence. Today I got just his face. You know, the beautiful newsletter from Meher Center. Watch Joyce Bird give her talk.
Oh, yeah.
And she basically was just saying how she saw Jesus in Baba's eyes and knew him, and said, just looking at his picture, she didn't even need Baba there. She just looking at Baba's picture. He's so present, and all these conversations, but his image and taking his name, he's just always there to help us. Often.
Yeah.
He's there. So
She is really a beautiful person.
yeah.
Okay, well, I guess everybody should,
Night.
see you all.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
See ya, Nasreen.
Bye.